A little girl in a wheelchair asks a cold millionaire with 1 week to live, "Where can I buy a dad?" His answer left everyone in shock. Just before we start, this community spans every continent. Drop your city's name if you feel comfortable sharing. Robert Mitchell's leather shoes clicked against the polished hospital floor as he made his way down the pediatric wing. The doctors had just given him the news. 1 week, maybe 2. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, terminal. No more experimental treatments left to try. "At least I won't have to listen to any more bad news," he muttered to himself, straightening his $1,000 suit jacket out of habit. 58 years of building Mitchell Technologies into a billion-dollar empire, and now his time was measured in days. The sound of tiny wheels squeaking against linoleum caught his attention. Robert looked up to see a small wheelchair approaching, pushed by a nurse in blue scrubs. In the chair sat a little girl with wild blonde curls and the biggest blue eyes he'd ever seen, clutching a tattered stuffed rabbit. "Excuse me, Mr. Mitchell," the nurse said, recognizing him from his many donations to Boston Children's Hospital. "Let me get Lily out of your way." "No need," Robert replied, automatically stepping aside. His mind was elsewhere, already planning how to distribute his fortune, who would take over the company, what meaningful mark he could possibly leave behind in the few days he had left. The little girl stared up at him, studying his expensive suit and the heavy gold watch on his wrist. Her legs, thin and motionless beneath her simple cotton dress, were a stark reminder of life's unfairness. "You look important," the child said suddenly, her voice surprisingly clear and articulate for someone so young. Despite himself, Robert smiled. "Some people think so." "Are you rich?" she asked, tilting her head. The nurse looked mortified. "Lily, we don't ask people questions like that." Robert waved away the concern. What did social niceties matter now? "Yes, I'm very rich." The little girl's face brightened. "Oh, good. Then maybe you can tell me." She leaned forward in her wheelchair, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Where can I buy a dad?" The question hit Robert like a physical blow. He stared at the child, momentarily unable to speak. "I have $16.37, she continued seriously, pulling a small plastic purse from beside her hip. "Grandma Martha helps me save my quarters. Is that enough for a good one?" "Lily!" the nurse gasped, but Robert held up his hand. "It's okay," he said, kneeling down despite the protest of his aching body, bringing himself eye level with the child. "Why do you want to buy a dad, Lily?" "Because Grandma Martha is getting very tired, and she says she might have to go to heaven soon like my mum did," Lily explained matter-of-factly. "Nurse Emma says everyone needs somebody to take care of them. The other kids here have dads who visit, but I don't have one, so I need to buy one before Grandma goes to heaven." Robert felt something crack inside him, something that had been frozen solid for decades. Here he was, with all the money in the world, and no one to leave it to, no one who would truly mourn his passing. And here was this child, counting quarters to buy herself a father. "My name is Robert," he said softly. "How old are you, Lily?" "I'm 4 1/4, she replied proudly, holding up 4 fingers and then adding a thumb halfway. "How old are you?" "I'm 58, he said with a small smile. "That's very old." "That's okay," Lily said seriously. "Old dads are good too. They know more stories." Nurse Emma shifted uncomfortably. "We should get going, Lily. It's time for your physical therapy." Robert stood up, wincing slightly at the pain in his back. The cancer had spread to his bones weeks ago. "It was nice meeting you, Lily," he said, surprised to find he meant it. As the nurse began to wheel her away, Lily looked back over her shoulder. "You didn't answer my question," she called. "Where do I buy a dad?" Robert felt tears stinging his eyes for the first time since his diagnosis. "I don't know," he answered honestly. "But maybe I can help you find one." As he watched the little wheelchair disappear around the corner, Robert Mitchell pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "Cancel my meetings for the rest of the week," he said, "and find out everything you can about a patient here named Lily. 4 years old, wheelchair, blonde curls." He paused. "And find out who handles adoptions in this state. 1 week to live." Perhaps it was just enough time to do the one thing he'd never done, make a real difference in someone's life. By the next morning, Robert had a manila folder containing everything there was to know about Lillian Grace Cooper, 4 years old, born with spina bifida. Mother deceased from complications during childbirth. No father listed on the birth certificate. Currently in the custody of her maternal grandmother, Martha Cooper, age 76, recently diagnosed with congestive heart failure. "Sir, I've arranged a meeting with Ms. Cooper at 10, his assistant Jennifer said, setting a cup of tea beside him. She'd been with him for 15 years and was one of the few people who knew about his diagnosis. "Are you sure about this? The adoption process typically takes months, even years." Robert looked up from the folder, his face drawn but determined. "I don't have months, but I have resources. Make it happen." Jennifer nodded. Knowing better than to argue, when Robert Mitchell set his mind to something, it happened. At precisely 10 o'clock, Robert walked into the small hospital cafeteria where Martha Cooper sat waiting. She was thin and frail, with the same blonde hair as her granddaughter, though hers had faded to a silvery white. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, struggling to stand. "Please, stay seated," he insisted, sitting across from her. "Thank you for meeting with me." Martha studied him with shrewd blue eyes. "The nurses told me a wealthy man was asking about my Lily. I figured I should find out why." Robert appreciated her directness. "Your granddaughter asked me where she could buy a father. She offered $16.37. Martha's expression softened. "She's been saving for almost a year, ever since I told her I might not be around much longer." Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her coffee cup. "What's your interest in Lily, Mr. Mitchell?" "I'd like to help her," Robert said simply. "Why?" "Rich men don't just decide to help random children they meet in hospitals." Robert hesitated, then decided on honesty. "I'm dying, Ms. Cooper. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors say I have a week, maybe 2. Martha's eyes widened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I've lived a full life, built a company, made billions." He paused. "But I've never made a difference, not a real one. And you think my granddaughter is your chance to do that?" "I think we might be able to help each other," Robert replied. "Lily needs security, and I need—" "Redemption?" Martha suggested. Robert smiled wryly. "Something like that. Mr. Mitchell, I appreciate the gesture. But what exactly are you proposing? You said yourself you only have days to live." Robert slid a document across the table. "This is a proposal. I'd like to establish a trust for Lily. The best medical care, education, housing, everything she could need. I've also initiated adoption proceedings." Martha stared at him. "You want to adopt my granddaughter? A child you just met yesterday?" "Yes." "To what end? You'll be gone in a week." Robert leaned forward. "The adoption ensures that my estate passes to her without complications. My legal team will arrange for a guardian of your choosing to raise her. You, for as long as you're able, and then someone you trust." Martha was silent for a long moment. "This is a lot to take in." "I understand," Robert said, "but we don't have much time." Just then the sound of squeaking wheels approached. Robert turned to see Nurse Emma pushing Lily toward their table. "Grandma! Look who I found again," Lily exclaimed, her face lighting up at the sight of Robert. "It's the rich man I told you about." Robert felt something warm bloom in his chest as Lily's small hand reached out to touch his sleeve. "Did you think about my question?" she asked hopefully. "About where to buy a dad?" Martha and Robert exchanged a look, and for the first time in years, Robert Mitchell felt something he'd thought was lost forever: purpose. "Actually, Lily," he said softly. I might have found an answer. This is impossible, Robert growled, tossing another legal document onto the growing pile on his hospital bed. He'd checked himself in that morning when the pain became too intense to manage at home. There has to be a way to expedite this process, his lawyer Thomas sighed. Robert, even with your resources, adoption takes time. Background checks, home studies, court approvals. I don't have time, Robert interrupted. I have 5 days left. Maybe less. Thomas ran a hand through his thinning hair. We're doing everything we can. The trust is already established, and Martha Cooper has agreed to it, but the adoption, it's complicated. Robert stared out the window. 5 floors below, he could see the hospital playground, where children played under the watchful eyes of parents and nurses. Lily wasn't among them. Her physical therapy session had ended an hour ago, and now she was back in her room, waiting for her grandmother who was meeting with her doctors. What about a temporary guardianship? Robert suggested. Something that gives me legal standing until the adoption goes through? Thomas considered this. That might work. It's still not immediate, but faster than adoption. If Ms. Cooper agrees. A knock at the door interrupted them. Nurse Emma stood there looking uncertain. Mr. Mitchell, Lily's asking for you. She's quite insistent. Robert's expression softened. Tell her I'll be right there. Should I come back later? Thomas asked, gathering his papers. No, Robert decided. Come with me, I want you to meet her. 5 minutes later, they entered Lily's room. The walls were decorated with colourful drawings, and stuffed animals lined the windowsill. Lily sat in her bed, her wheelchair parked nearby. Robert, she exclaimed, putting down her picture book. You came! Of course I did, he replied, sitting carefully on the edge of her bed. How was physical therapy today? Hard, she admitted. But Nurse Emma says I'm getting stronger. Look! She proudly lifted her leg a few inches off the bed, her face straining with effort. That's incredible, Robert said, genuinely impressed. You're working very hard. Grandma says hard work is important. Lily turned her attention to Thomas. Who are you? This is my friend Thomas, Robert explained. He helps me with important papers. Lily's eyes widened with interest. Like adoption papers? Robert shot a surprised look at Thomas. How did you know about that? I heard Grandma talking to the doctor, Lily said. She said you want to be my dad, but you might go to heaven too soon. Her small face grew serious. Are you sick like Grandma? Robert hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I am. Lily considered this, her 4-year-old mind processing complex realities with surprising clarity. But you still want to be my dad? Even if it's just for a little while? Yes, Robert said softly. I do. Why? Lily asked. The simplicity of the question belying its depth. Robert felt Thomas watching him curiously. It was a valid question. Why was a lifelong bachelor with no children, a man known for his ruthless business tactics, suddenly desperate to adopt a child in his final days? Because, Robert began, then paused, searching for words a 4-year-old might understand. Because sometimes people don't realize what they're missing until they find it. Lily nodded, as if this made perfect sense. Like when I lost my rabbit and didn't know he was under my pillow the whole time, Robert smiled. Exactly like that. Thomas cleared his throat. Mr. Mitchell, we should continue our discussion. Just a minute, Robert said, then turned back to Lily. I have to go talk about those important papers now, but I'll come back later. Lily's face fell. Promise? I promise, Robert said, and was surprised to find he meant it more than any business deal he'd ever made. As they left the room, Thomas gave him a searching look. I've known you for 30 years, Robert. I've never seen you like this. Robert stared straight ahead, his jaw set. Find a way to make this happen, Thomas. Whatever it takes. What neither man noticed was the stranger watching from the end of the hallway. his eyes fixed on Lily's door with an expression of calculated interest. "Mr. Mitchell, you have a visitor," Jennifer announced, stepping into Robert's hospital room the next morning. Robert looked up from his laptop, where he'd been reviewing the temporary guardianship papers. Thomas had worked through the night to prepare them, and Martha had tentatively agreed to sign, pending final review by her own attorney. "Who is it?" Robert asked, closing the laptop. "He says his name is James Cooper, claims to be Lily's uncle." Robert felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "Send him in." The man who entered was in his early 40s, with the same blonde hair as Lily, but none of her warmth. His eyes darted around the room, taking in the obvious signs of wealth: the private suite, the expensive watch on Robert's nightstand, the custom laptop. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, extending his hand, "James Cooper. I understand you've taken an interest in my niece." Robert shook his hand briefly. "I wasn't aware Lily had an uncle." "Half-uncle, technically. Her mother was my half-sister." James took a seat without being invited. "I've been working overseas. Just got back last week and heard about Martha's condition." He paused. "And about your proposition." "How did you hear about that?" Robert asked sharply. James smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Small hospital, people talk." He leaned forward. "Let me get to the point. I'm Lily's only living blood relative besides Martha. If something happens to her, custody naturally comes to me." "Do you have any relationship with Lily?" Robert asked. "She's never mentioned you." "I've been away," James said dismissively. "But blood is blood. And where have you been for the past 4 years? James's expression hardened. "Working, living my life, not that it's any of your business." He straightened his jacket. "Look, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but Lily has family. She doesn't need a dying billionaire's charity." "This isn't charity," Robert said quietly. "Then what is it? Because from where I'm sitting it looks like you're trying to buy your way into heaven by playing savior to a disabled orphan." James stood up. "Whatever it is, it ends now. I'll be filing for custody this afternoon." As James turned to leave, Robert called after him. "Mr. Cooper!" James paused at the door. "How much?" James turned back slowly. "Excuse me? How much would it take for you to disappear again? Back overseas, perhaps?" A slow, calculating smile spread across James's face. "Now we're speaking the same language." Robert felt disgust rise in his throat, but kept his expression neutral. "Name your price." $5 million, cash." Robert didn't blink. $1 million, and you sign away all parental rights, permanently. James considered this. $2 million. 1.5. Final offer. Done. James's eyes gleamed. "I'll have my lawyer draw up the papers." "No need," Robert said coldly. "My team will handle it. Be back here at 3 o'clock. After James left, Robert sat motionless for several minutes. Then he picked up his phone. "Jennifer, I need you to run a complete background check on James Cooper. And call Thomas. Tell him we have a complication." Later that afternoon, Robert wheeled himself down to Lily's room. The exertion left him breathless, but he'd refused the nurse's offer to push him. His pride, at least, was still intact. He found Lily sitting by the window, carefully coloring a picture. Her face lit up when she saw him. "Robert, look, I'm drawing us." Robert wheeled closer to see the crayon drawing. A small stick figure in a wheelchair next to a taller one, both smiling widely beneath a yellow sun. "It's beautiful," he said, his throat tight. "Grandma says you're trying to be my dad," Lily said, putting down her crayon. "Is that true?" "Would you like that?" Robert asked carefully. Lily nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, but..." "But what?" "Will you still be my dad even when you go to heaven?" The question pierced Robert's heart. "Yes," he promised, "even then." Lily seemed satisfied with this answer. "Good, because I already told everyone that I found a dad, and I used my $16 to buy you this." She reached under her pillow and pulled out a small plastic bag containing a tie clip with "Dad" engraved on it. As Robert held the simple gift in his trembling hands, he made a silent vow. James Cooper would not get anywhere near this child, not for any amount of money. His background check came back, Jennifer said, placing the file on Robert's lap as he sat in the hospital garden with Lily, who was feeding breadcrumbs to a small gathering of sparrows. Robert waited until Lily was thoroughly distracted before opening the file. What he read confirmed his suspicions about James Cooper: multiple arrests for fraud, 2 bankruptcies, a string of failed get-rich-quick schemes, currently being pursued by creditors in 3 countries. "He'll take the money and run," Jennifer said quietly, "but he'll be back when it's gone." Robert closed the file. "Make the appointment with Judge Harriman for tomorrow morning, and double the security detail on Lily's room." Jennifer nodded and walked away, just as Lily wheeled herself back to him, her small hands expertly maneuvering the chair. "The birds ate all my bread," she announced. "Can we read a story now?" "Of course," Robert said, tucking the file into his bag. "What would you like to read?" Lily pulled a worn picture book from the bag hanging on her wheelchair. "This one. It was my mom's when she was little." As Robert read about a princess who saved herself from a dragon, he was struck by how quickly Lily had become the center of his world. 4 days ago, he'd been planning his own funeral. Now he was planning a future he wouldn't live to see. "Robert," Lily said when the story was finished, "can I ask you something important?" "Anything. If you're going to be my dad, should I call you Dad instead of Robert?" The question caught him off guard. "What would you like to call me?" Lily thought seriously for a moment. "Dad," she decided. "But is that okay if you're only my dad for a little while?" Robert swallowed hard. "It's more than okay." Lily beamed, revealing a gap where she'd recently lost a tooth. "Okay. Dad." The word hung in the air between them, precious and new. The moment was interrupted by Martha, who approached from the hospital entrance. She looked frailer than she had the day before, and Robert immediately noticed the hospital bracelet on her wrist. "They're keeping me overnight for observation," she explained, seeing his concerned look. "Just a precaution." "Grandma, guess what?" Lily exclaimed. "I'm calling Robert Dad now." Martha's eyes met Robert's over Lily's head. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Why don't you go ask Nurse Emma for your medication? It's almost time." Once Lily had wheeled away, Martha turned to Robert. "James came to see me." "I know, he visited me too. He told me about your offer," Martha said, her voice tight with anger. "You tried to buy him off." "I was testing him," Robert replied. "And he failed, spectacularly. He's her blood relative." "He's a con artist with a criminal record who's never once visited her," Robert countered, handing her the file. "Read it yourself." Martha scanned the pages, her expression growing more troubled with each one. Finally, she closed the file and handed it back. "What do we do now?" she asked. "We stick to the plan," Robert said firmly. "The hearing with Judge Harriman is tomorrow morning. Thomas believes she'll grant the temporary guardianship, which will transition to full adoption once the background checks and home studies are complete. And James? Let me worry about James." Martha studied him carefully. "You really care about her, don't you? This isn't just some deathbed charity project." "No," Robert admitted. "It's not." He hesitated, then added, "I have no illusions about how much time I have left, but I want to make sure she's taken care of. Not just financially, but—" He trailed off, unsure how to express what he meant. "With love?" Martha finished for him. Robert nodded, the word foreign, yet exactly right. Martha reached out and squeezed his hand. "The papers. I'll sign them tonight." As they sat in companionable silence, watching Lily chat with her nurse across the garden, neither noticed James Cooper watching from a second-floor window. His expression dark with rage and calculation. Judge Harriman's private chambers were silent as she reviewed the temporary guardianship papers. Robert sat beside Thomas, trying to ignore the pain that radiated through his body. The doctors had increased his morphine, but he'd reduced the dose this morning, needing clarity for the hearing. Martha sat on his other side, looking almost as ill as Robert felt. Her overnight stay had stretched to 2 nights as her doctors adjusted her heart medication. Judge Harriman, a stern woman in her 60s, finally looked up. "This is highly unusual, Mr. Mitchell." "I understand, Your Honor," Robert replied. "You have no experience as a parent. You're terminally ill, and you've known this child for less than a week." She removed her glasses. "Why should I grant this petition?" Robert took a deep breath. "Because Lily Cooper deserves security and stability. The trust I've established ensures her financial needs will be met for life. Martha Cooper has agreed to continue as her primary caregiver for as long as her health allows, after which my team has arranged for a transition to a qualified guardian of her choosing." "And what exactly do you get out of this arrangement, Mr. Mitchell?" "You'll be gone before the permanent adoption could even be finalized." Robert met her gaze steadily. "I get the knowledge that I've done one truly selfless thing in my life, Your Honor." Judge Harriman seemed about to respond when the door burst open. James Cooper strode in, followed by a flustered court clerk. "I'm sorry, Your Honor," the clerk stammered. "He insisted." "I object to these proceedings," James announced. "I'm Lily's uncle, an only blood relative besides her grandmother. I should have custody, not some stranger who's trying to buy his way into heaven." Judge Harriman's expression hardened. "Mr. Cooper, I presume. This is a closed hearing. You'll wait outside until called." "Your Honor, please," James persisted, his charm on full display. "I've just returned from overseas to find my niece being essentially sold to a dying billionaire. Surely that warrants my intervention." "Mr. Cooper," the judge said coldly, "one more word and I'll have you removed." "Wait, outside." James hesitated, then backed out, shooting a venomous look at Robert. Judge Harriman turned to Martha. "Ms. Cooper, are you being coerced in any way?" "No, Your Honor," Martha replied firmly. "This arrangement was my idea as much as Mr. Mitchell's. James has never shown any interest in Lily until now. He's never even met her." The judge nodded, then turned back to Robert. "Mr. Mitchell, given your medical condition, what happens if you become incapacitated before the final adoption?" "The temporary guardianship transitions to Martha Cooper with the same financial support structure in place," Thomas explained. "All the provisions remain intact." Judge Harriman considered this for a long moment, then picked up her pen. "I'm granting the temporary guardianship with the provision that Ms. Cooper maintains physical custody and daily care responsibilities. Mr. Mitchell, you are legally responsible for Lillian Cooper's welfare, effective immediately." As the judge signed the papers, Robert felt a weight lift from his shoulders. It was done. Lily was legally his responsibility now, his child. They found Lily waiting in the hospital playroom with Nurse Emma. She looked up from her puzzle as they entered. "Is it official?" she asked, her eyes wide with hope. "Are you my dad now?" Robert knelt beside her wheelchair, ignoring the stabbing pain in his back. "Yes, Lily, I'm officially your dad." Lily threw her arms around his neck. "I knew $16 was enough." Martha wiped away a tear as she watched them. For a moment, everything felt right in the world, but that evening, as Robert dozed in a chair beside Lily's bed after reading her 3 bedtime stories, his phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. "James Cooper withdrew $50,000 cash this afternoon. Bought a plane ticket to Boston, arriving tomorrow morning. Security team alerted." Robert looked at Lily's peaceful, sleeping face, then at the temporary guardianship papers on the nightstand. 1 day down. How many more did he have left to protect her? His oncologist had called that afternoon with the latest test results. The cancer was spreading faster than expected. His week was now looking more like 3 days. Robert reached for his phone to call Thomas. They needed a more permanent solution, and they needed it now. Robert woke to the sound of muffled voices outside Lily's hospital room. He'd spent the night in the recliner beside her bed. unwilling to leave her unprotected with James Cooper on his way to Boston. The pain in his body had intensified overnight, a grim reminder of the cancer spreading through his bones. "Dad?" Lily's sleepy voice came from the bed. "Are you okay? You're making a funny face." Robert forced a smile, quickly adjusting his expression. "I'm fine." "Sweetheart, just a little stiff from sleeping in this chair." Lily studied him with those perceptive blue eyes that seemed to see right through his pretenses. "Is it because you're sick? Grandma makes that same face sometimes when she thinks I'm not looking." "Your grandma and I are both a little under the weather," Robert admitted. Reaching for the morphine pump the nurses had connected last night, he pressed the button, feeling the momentary relief flood his system. "But don't worry about that. Today is a special day." "Why?" Lily asked, sitting up in her bed and reaching for her stuffed rabbit. "Because today we're going to talk about your future," Robert said. Wheeling his chair closer to her bed, the doctors had insisted he use a wheelchair now to conserve his strength. "All the wonderful things you're going to do." "Like school?" Lily asked. "Grandma says I'll start kindergarten next year." "Exactly," Robert nodded. "And after that, elementary school, middle school, high school, maybe even college if you want." "I want to be a doctor," Lily declared. "Or maybe an astronaut, or maybe both. A doctor-astronaut." Robert chuckled. "You can be anything you want to be, Lily. Even with my legs not working right?" "Especially with your legs not working right," Robert said firmly. "Because you've already learned the most important lesson there is." "What's that?" "That when things are hard, you keep trying anyway." Lily beamed at him, and Robert felt his heart constrict. How could he have lived 58 years without knowing this kind of love? A knock at the door interrupted them. Thomas entered, looking grave. "Good morning, Lily," he said kindly, then turned to Robert. "Can we speak outside?" "I'll be right back," Robert promised Lily, who had already turned her attention to the breakfast tray a nurse had just delivered. In the hallway, Thomas wasted no time. "James Cooper landed at Logan Airport 30 minutes ago. Our security team is tracking him. But he's being evasive. Has he made any moves toward the hospital?" "Not yet, but there's something else." Thomas handed Robert a legal document. "He's filed an emergency petition to overturn the temporary guardianship, claiming you coerced Martha and that you're mentally incompetent due to your illness and medication." Robert skimmed the document, his jaw tightening. "This is nonsense." "It's desperate," Thomas agreed, "but it could delay things, force another hearing." "Time we don't have," Robert muttered, glancing back at Lily's room. "What are our options?" "I've been working on that all night," Thomas said, producing another set of papers. "This is a permanent adoption filing. With Martha's testimony and Judge Harriman's support, we might be able to expedite it. Get it processed in days rather than months. Will it hold up against James's challenge? If we can prove he's an unfit guardian, yes. The PI has uncovered some promising leads in that direction." Thomas hesitated. "But Robert, there's something else we need to discuss. Your medical power of attorney." Robert understood immediately. "You're worried about what happens if I become incapacitated before the adoption is finalized." "Exactly. Right now, Jennifer holds your medical power of attorney, but given the circumstances, you think it should be Martha." Robert finished for him. "It would strengthen our legal position, show that you and Martha are united in this, sharing responsibilities." Robert nodded slowly. "Make it happen, and double the security detail on Lily. I don't want James getting anywhere near her." As Thomas left to make the arrangements, Robert wheeled himself back into Lily's room. She was attempting to butter her toast, her small face scrunched in concentration. "Need some help?" he offered. "I can do it," she insisted, her tongue poking out between her teeth as she focused. After a moment of struggle, she managed to spread a glob of butter across the bread. "See? I did it myself." "You certainly did," Robert said proudly. "Dad?" Lily asked, taking a bite of her toast. "Can we go to the garden again today? I want to feed the birds." "Of course," Robert promised, even as he felt a wave of pain wash over him. He wouldn't tell her that yesterday's garden visit had left him exhausted and in agony. He wouldn't tell her that each passing hour made it harder for him to stay conscious through the pain. He wouldn't tell her that his 3 days were looking more like 2. "And can we read more stories? The nurse brought new books." "All the stories you want," Robert said, reaching out to wipe a smudge of butter from her cheek. Outside the window, storm clouds were gathering over Boston, darkening the morning sky, a perfect reflection of the storm that was coming for them both. But for now, in this moment, there was just a father and daughter sharing breakfast, making plans for a day that seemed so ordinary and yet meant everything. The rain was lashing against the hospital windows, and Robert's condition had deteriorated rapidly. The doctors had increased his pain medication, leaving him fighting to stay alert as he sat beside Lily in the pediatric playroom, watching her construct an elaborate castle out of building blocks. "It needs a flag," Lily decided. Looking around for something suitable, Robert pulled a handkerchief from his pocket. "Will this work?" Lily's face lit up. "Perfect!" She took the square of silk and carefully folded it into a triangular shape, then balanced it on the highest tower. "Now it's complete. It's your castle, Dad." "My castle?" Robert asked, touched by the gesture. "Yes, because you're like a king. You have lots of money and you help people." Lily's matter-of-fact explanation made Robert smile despite his pain. "If I'm the king, then you must be the princess," he said. Lily considered this, then shook her head. "No, I think I'm the knight. Knights protect people, and I'm going to protect you." She picked up a small plastic figure and placed it beside the castle. "See, that's me guarding the castle." Robert felt tears sting his eyes at her innocent declaration. Here he was, frantically trying to secure her future, and she was promising to protect him. His phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. "James Cooper just entered the hospital. Security team intercepted him in the lobby." Robert's heart raced. "Lily, I think it's time to go back to your room now." "But I'm not done playing," she protested. "We can bring some toys with us," Robert promised, already signaling to the nurse who supervised the playroom. As they made their way back to Lily's room, Robert's phone buzzed again. "Cooper demanding to see Lily, claims legal right as uncle. Hospital admin requesting guidance." Robert texted back one-handed while pushing Lily's wheelchair with the other. "Temporary restraining order in process. Stall him." They had just reached Lily's room when Martha appeared looking alarmed. "James is downstairs," she said in a low voice. "He's causing quite a scene." "I know," Robert replied, helping Lily back into her bed. "Thomas is handling it." "Who's James?" Lily asked, picking up on the tension in the adults' voices. Martha and Robert exchanged a look. "He's your mother's half-brother," Martha explained carefully. "Your uncle." "Technically." Lily's brow furrowed. "I have an uncle? Why haven't I met him before?" "He's been living far away," Martha said, which wasn't exactly a lie. "Is he coming to visit me?" Lily asked, perking up at the thought of meeting a new relative. Before either adult could answer, Thomas appeared in the doorway, looking grim. "We have a problem. The hospital's legal team is reviewing the temporary guardianship. Without a formal adoption finalized, they're considering allowing James to see Lily as her blood relative." "Absolutely not," Robert said firmly, struggling to rise from his wheelchair. A sharp pain shot through his spine, and he fell back with a grimace. "Dad!" Lily cried in alarm. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, sweetheart," Robert assured her, though his pale, sweating face told a different story. "I just moved too quickly." Martha stepped in smoothly. "Lily, why don't you show me that new book the nurse brought you?" "I haven't seen it yet." While Lily was distracted, Robert wheeled himself into the hallway with Thomas. "How soon can we get the adoption finalized?" he asked urgently. "Judge Harriman is reviewing the paperwork now. With the evidence against James, she's sympathetic to our case." "But Robert—" Thomas hesitated. "The doctors called me. They're concerned about your condition." "I don't care about my condition," Robert snapped. "I care about protecting Lily from that con artist." "I understand, but legally, if you become incapacitated—" "I'm not going to become incapacitated," Robert interrupted, even as another wave of pain washed over him. "Not until this is done." Thomas looked unconvinced but nodded. "I'll keep pushing on the legal front. In the meantime, I've stationed 2 security guards outside Lily's room. James won't get past them." As Thomas left, Robert heard raised voices from the direction of the elevators. He recognized one of them immediately, James Cooper. "I have a right to see my niece," James was shouting. "You can't keep me from her." Robert wheeled himself toward the commotion, ignoring the protest of his failing body. He rounded the corner to find James arguing with a hospital security guard and one of Robert's private security team. "Mr. Cooper," Robert said coldly, "I think it's time we had a conversation." James turned, his face flushed with anger. "Mitchell, I should have known you'd be behind this, keeping me from my own flesh and blood." "Let's not pretend you suddenly care about Lily," Robert replied. "We both know what you're really after." "And what's that?" "The money. My money." Robert gestured to a nearby family consultation room. "Shall we discuss this privately?" Once inside the small room, James dropped all pretense of concern. "Your offer was an insult. $1.5 million? For my only niece? I think not." "The offer has been withdrawn," Robert said calmly. "You won't get a penny from me." James laughed incredulously. "You're not in a position to make threats." "Mitchell, you're literally dying before my eyes. Once you're gone, who do you think the courts will give custody to? Some trust you've set up, or Lily's only living blood relative?" "A blood relative with fraud convictions and outstanding warrants in 3 countries, Robert countered. "I don't think so." James's face darkened. "You've been digging, I'm impressed, but it doesn't change the facts. Blood trumps money in family court." "Not when the blood is poison," Robert said, pulling out his phone. "I'm going to give you one chance to walk away. Leave Boston today, never contact Lily again, and I'll ensure the authorities in Singapore don't find out where you are." "Singapore?" James paled slightly. "What are you talking about?" "The investment scheme you ran there last year. The one that left several wealthy businessmen significantly poorer. My sources tell me they're very eager to have a conversation with you." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across James's face. But it quickly hardened into resolve. "Nice try, but I'm not going anywhere until I get what I came for." At that moment, Robert's phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. "Judge Harriman signed the adoption order. It's done. Lily is legally your daughter." Relief flooded through Robert, followed immediately by a wave of pain so intense that black spots danced before his eyes. He fought to remain conscious, to not show weakness in front of James. "This conversation is over," Robert managed to say, turning his wheelchair toward the door. "This isn't over," James called after him, "not by a long shot." As Robert wheeled himself back toward Lily's room, he felt his strength ebbing. The adoption was finalized. Lily was legally his daughter now, but his body was failing faster than expected. Would he even have time to tell her the good news? He had just reached her doorway when the pain crescendoed and darkness claimed him. Robert awoke to the steady beep of a heart monitor and the sensation of a small hand clutching his. He blinked against the harsh hospital lights, gradually becoming aware that he was now the patient, lying in a hospital bed with tubes and wires connecting him to various machines. "Dad?" Lily's voice was small and frightened. "Dad! Can you hear me?" Robert turned his head to see Lily sitting beside his bed in her wheelchair, her face pale with worry. "I hear you, Princess," he managed to say, his throat dry and scratchy. Relief flooded Lily's face. "You fell down. The doctor said you were sleeping, but I knew you could hear me. I've been telling you stories." "Like you tell me?" Robert squeezed her hand, overwhelmed by the child's devotion. "That was very kind of you." He became aware of others in the room. Martha standing behind Lily, Thomas by the window on his phone, and Jennifer near the door, speaking in hushed tones with the doctor. The doctor approached the bed, checking the monitors. "Mr. Mitchell, you experienced a severe pain episode that caused you to lose consciousness. We've adjusted your medication, but—" She glanced meaningfully at Lily, clearly reluctant to discuss his prognosis in front of the child. "Lily," Martha said gently, "why don't we go get a snack from the cafeteria? Your dad needs to talk to the doctor." "But I just got here," Lily protested. "I want to stay with Dad." "It's okay," Robert assured her. "I'm not going anywhere. And when you get back, we can read that new book together." Lily hesitated, then nodded. "Promise you'll be awake when I get back?" "I promise," Robert said. Though the effort of staying conscious was already taxing his limited strength, once Lily and Martha had left, the doctor's expression turned grave. "Mr. Mitchell, I'm afraid the cancer has spread more aggressively than we anticipated. The tumors are pressing on your spine, which is causing the increased pain episodes." "How long?" Robert asked simply. The doctor hesitated. "It's difficult to say with certainty, but based on the latest scans, hours rather than days." "I'm sorry." Thomas moved closer to the bed. "Robert, with the adoption finalized, everything is in place. Lily's future is secure." "And James?" Robert asked. "He's been served with a restraining order," Jennifer reported. "And our contacts in Singapore have been informed of his whereabouts. He won't be a problem anymore." Robert nodded, satisfied that the immediate threats had been neutralized. But a deeper concern weighed on him. "She needs more than financial security," he said quietly. "She needs someone who loves her." "Martha will take care of her for as long as she can," Thomas assured him. "And after that," Robert persisted, "Martha's health is precarious at best." Jennifer stepped forward. "I've been thinking about that, Robert. She hesitated, then continued more firmly. "I'd like to apply to be Lily's guardian if something happens to Martha." "I know it's not something we've discussed, but—" "Yes," Robert interrupted, relief flooding through him. "Yes, Jennifer, I can't think of anyone better." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "Are you sure?" "You've been by my side for 15 years, Robert said. "You're the most capable, compassionate person I know. Lily would be lucky to have you." Thomas cleared his throat. "I'll add the provision to the trust documents immediately." The doctor checked Robert's vital signs again. "You should rest now, Mr. Mitchell. Conserve your strength." But Robert shook his head. "I promised Lily I'd be awake when she got back. I need to say goodbye to her properly." "Robert," the doctor began gently. "Given your condition—" "I'm not going to frighten her," Robert interrupted, "but I need to see her one more time, please." The doctor hesitated, then nodded. "I'll increase your pain medication to keep you comfortable, but try not to overexert yourself." After the doctor left, Robert turned to Thomas. "There's one more thing. In my apartment, in the safe behind the Rothko in the study, there's a box of my mother's jewelry. I want Lily to have it, especially the sapphire necklace. It matches her eyes." Jennifer made a note on her tablet. "I'll take care of it. And I want to set up a video," Robert continued, his mind racing with all the things he wouldn't be able to tell Lily in person. Messages for her to watch as she grows up. Birthdays, graduation, her wedding someday. "Robert," Thomas said gently, "there isn't time for all that." The reality of his situation hit Robert anew. He would never see Lily grow up. Never help her with homework or teach her to drive. Never walk her down the aisle or hold her children. "Perhaps just one message then," he said quietly. "Something she can keep." Jennifer nodded, already pulling out her phone. I can record it now, if you're ready. Robert took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. How did you condense a lifetime of fatherly wisdom into one brief message? Before he could begin, the door opened and Lily wheeled herself in, Martha following behind with a tray of snacks. Dad, you kept your promise, Lily exclaimed, maneuvering her wheelchair next to his bed. Look, I brought you pudding. Chocolate, your favorite. Robert didn't have the heart to tell her he couldn't eat. Thank you, sweetheart. That was very thoughtful. The nurse said you have to stay in bed today, Lily continued, arranging the snacks on his tray table. That's okay. I stay in bed lots of days when my legs hurt too much. We can still have fun. We certainly can, Robert agreed, fighting to keep his voice steady. What would you like to do? Can we play the question game, Lily asked. I ask a question, then you ask a question. That sounds perfect, Robert said, silently signaling to Thomas and Jennifer to give them privacy. As his colleagues quietly left the room, Martha stepped forward. I'll be right outside if you need me, she said, giving Robert's hand a gentle squeeze that conveyed her understanding of what this moment meant. Once they were alone, Lily began the game. What's your favorite color? Blue, Robert answered honestly. Like your eyes. My turn. What makes you happiest? Lily thought for a moment. Stories. I like when people tell me stories. She fidgeted with her stuffed rabbit. Dad, when are you coming home from the hospital? The innocent question pierced Robert's heart. I might have to stay here for quite a while, Lily. Because you're very sick, she asked perceptively. Yes, because I'm very sick, Lily nodded solemnly. That's okay. I'll visit you every day, and when you get better, we can go to the park. Grandma says there's a special playground near your house with swings for wheelchairs. Robert swallowed hard. Lily, there's something important I need to tell you. Something about being sick. Lily's expression grew serious. Is it about going to heaven, like my mom did? Yes, Robert said gently. Sometimes when people are very, very sick, the doctors try their very best, but they can't make them better. And then they go to heaven, Lily finished for him. That's right. Are you going to heaven, Dad? The directness of her question took his breath away. Yes, sweetheart, I think I am. Probably soon. Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing this. Then she asked, Will you be able to see my mom in heaven? I hope so, Robert said, tears filling his eyes. Good, Lily decided. Then you can tell her I'm okay, and that I found a dad, just like I was looking for. She reached out to touch his face. Don't be scared, Dad. Grandma says heaven is nice. No one is sick there, and everyone can run and play. A tear slipped down Robert's cheek. You're a very brave girl, Lily Mitchell. Lily's eyes widened. Mitchell? Like you? Yes, Robert smiled. You're my daughter now, officially. The judge signed the papers this morning. Your name is Lily Mitchell now. If you want it to be. Yes, Lily exclaimed. Now everyone will know you're my dad. She thought for a moment. When you go to heaven, will you still be my dad? Always, Robert promised, his voice breaking. No matter where I am, I will always, always be your dad. Lily nodded, satisfied. It's still my turn for a question. Can I stay here with you, right now? There's nothing I would like more, Robert said, patting the edge of his bed. With the practiced movements of a child who had spent much of her life in hospitals, Lily transferred herself from her wheelchair to sit beside him on the bed, careful not to disturb any of the tubes or wires. Will you tell me a story, Dad? She asked, settling against his side. What kind of story would you like to hear? A true one, Lily decided. About when you were little, like me. As Robert began to tell her about his childhood summers at his grandmother's lake house, he felt a strange peace settle over him. For 58 years, he had chased success, wealth, and power, never realizing what he was missing until this small girl had asked him where to buy a father. $16.37, it turned out, was exactly the right price for the most valuable thing in the world: love. Each time fighting his way back to awareness for Lily's sake, she remained by his side, alternating between telling him stories, showing him her drawings, and simply holding his hand during the moments when the pain medication made it difficult for him to speak. Martha watched from a chair by the window, her own health concerns temporarily forgotten as she witnessed the bond between the dying billionaire and her granddaughter. The nurses had brought in a cot for Lily to sleep on, but she had refused to leave Robert's side, eventually falling asleep curled against him, her small hand still clutching his. Around midnight, Thomas returned with an urgent update. He gently woke Martha and led her into the hallway. "We have a situation," he said in a low voice. "James Cooper has filed an emergency petition challenging the adoption. He's claiming Robert was not of sound mind when the papers were signed." Martha's face hardened. "That's ridiculous. Judge Harriman interviewed Robert personally." "I know, and under normal circumstances, the challenge would be dismissed. But," Thomas hesitated, "with Robert's condition deteriorating so rapidly, Cooper's lawyers are pushing for an emergency hearing first thing tomorrow morning." "He can't do this," Martha whispered fiercely. "He can't take Lily away now." "He won't," Thomas assured her. "The adoption is solid, but I need you to be prepared to testify again if necessary." Martha nodded determinedly. "I'll do whatever it takes." Inside the room, Robert stirred, his eyes opening to find Lily still asleep beside him. Despite the pain that radiated through every cell in his body, he smiled at the sight of her peaceful face. A nurse entered quietly to check his vital signs. Her expression was professional, but Robert could read the truth in her eyes. He didn't have much time left. "Could you ask Thomas to come in?" he whispered. When Thomas appeared at his bedside, Robert spoke with what strength he had left. "James is making another play for Lily, isn't he?" Thomas nodded grimly. "We're handling it." "I need to make sure," Robert insisted. "She needs to be protected after I'm gone." "The trust is ironclad," Thomas assured him. "Your estate will pass to Lily as planned. With Martha as her guardian and Jennifer as the successor guardian, the financial security is absolute." "It's not about the money," Robert said, his voice growing weaker. "It's about her happiness, her future. I need to know she'll be loved." "She will be," Thomas promised. "Martha adores her, and so does Jennifer and Lily. She's a special child. She touches everyone who meets her." Robert nodded, his eyes drifting to Lily's sleeping form. "She saved me, you know. All these years I thought I was building a legacy with my company, my fortune. But none of it meant anything until she asked me where to buy a father. You've given her a tremendous gift," Thomas said quietly. "No," Robert corrected him. "She gave me the gift. She taught me what really matters." He paused, gathering his strength. "I need you to promise me something, Thomas. Anything. Make sure she knows how much I loved her. Not just now, but as she grows up. Make sure she knows these few days were the most important of my life." "I promise," Thomas said solemnly. Robert's gaze returned to Lily. "And make sure she lives a full life, not just financially secure, but happy. Help her find her purpose, whatever it may be." "We will," Thomas assured him, his usual professional demeanor cracking to reveal genuine emotion. "All of us." Robert nodded, satisfied. Then he turned to Martha, who had returned to her chair by the window. "Martha," he called softly. She came to his bedside, her eyes filled with tears. "Yes, Robert." "Thank you," he said simply, "for trusting me with her. For letting me be her father, even if only for a little while." Martha took his hand. "Thank you for loving her, for giving her the future I couldn't secure alone." "Will you tell her something for me?" Robert asked. "After I'm gone?" "Of course. Tell her that some people search their whole lives for treasure, looking in all the wrong places. Tell her that she was my treasure, the one I found just in time. A tear slipped down Martha's cheek. I'll tell her. Just then, Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Dad, she mumbled sleepily. I'm here, sweetheart, Robert reassured her. I had a dream, she said, rubbing her eyes. We were at the beach and you were teaching me to swim. And my legs worked just like everyone else's. That sounds like a wonderful dream, Robert said, stroking her hair. It was, Lily confirmed. Maybe we can go to a real beach someday? Robert exchanged a glance with Martha before answering. I might not be able to take you, Lily, but I promise you will go to the beach. You'll feel the sand between your toes and the waves around your legs. With you watching from heaven? Lily asked, with the simple faith of a child. Yes, Robert whispered. With me, watching from heaven. Lily nodded, accepting this as she had accepted so many difficult truths in her young life. Then she reached for her backpack, which Martha had brought from her room. I made something for you, she said, pulling out a folded piece of construction paper. It's a card. Robert took it with trembling hands. On the front, Lily had drawn 2 stick figures holding hands. One small with yellow curls, one tall with grey hair. Above them, in careful block letters, she had written, Best Dad Ever. Inside, she had traced her small hand in red crayon and written, I love you this much and more. Love, Lily Mitchell. It's beautiful, Robert said, his voice breaking. The most beautiful card I've ever received. Grandma helped me spell the words, Lily explained proudly. Do you really like it? I love it, Robert assured her. And I love you, Lily Mitchell, more than all the stars in the sky. Lily beamed at him, then yawned widely. I'm still sleepy. Then you should go back to sleep, Robert said gently. It's very late. Will you still be here when I wake up? She asked, her eyes already drooping. Robert looked to Martha, who gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head. The doctor had been clear. He likely wouldn't last until morning. I'll always be with you, Robert said carefully, even if you can't see me. Lily seemed to understand the hidden meaning in his words. She reached up and placed her small hand against his cheek. It's okay, Dad. Remember what I said? Heaven is nice, no one is sick there. That's right, Robert managed to say, despite the lump in his throat. And someday, a long, long time from now, I'll come see you there, Lily continued, and we can play all the games we didn't get to play here. I'll be waiting, Robert promised. Lily settled back against him, her eyes closing once more. Good night, Dad. I love you. I love you too, my treasure, Robert whispered. More than you'll ever know. As Lily drifted back to sleep, Robert held her close, memorizing the feel of her small body against his, the scent of her hair, the sound of her breathing. If these were to be his final hours, he couldn't imagine spending them any other way. Outside, the storm that had been raging all day finally began to subside, the rain softening to a gentle patter against the windows. And as the clouds parted to reveal a star-filled sky, Robert Mitchell held his daughter and felt, for the first time in his life, absolutely complete. Dawn broke with a clarity that seemed almost cruel in its beauty. Golden sunlight streamed through the hospital windows, illuminating the still form on the bed. Robert Mitchell had passed peacefully in the early hours of the morning, with Martha holding his hand and Thomas keeping vigil nearby. They had moved Lily to the cot once she was deeply asleep, sparing her the moment of his passing. Now, as the first rays of sun touched her face, she stirred, reaching automatically for the father, who was no longer there. "Dad!" she called, sitting up and rubbing her eyes. Martha moved quickly to her side, kneeling despite the protest of her arthritic knees. "Good morning, sweetheart." Lily looked past her to the bed where Robert lay, his face peaceful in eternal rest. Even at 4 years old, she understood what she was seeing. "He went to heaven," she said softly. It wasn't a question. Yes, honey, Martha confirmed, tears filling her eyes. While you were sleeping, the doctor said he didn't feel any pain. Lily nodded solemnly. He looks like he's having a nice dream. I think he is, Martha agreed, pulling her granddaughter into a gentle embrace. To her surprise, Lily didn't cry. Instead, she asked to be lifted back onto the bed beside Robert. Once there, she leaned over and kissed his cheek. "Goodbye, Dad," she whispered. "Say hi to my mum for me." Thomas, who had been standing silently by the window, turned away to hide his own tears. In 30 years of handling the affairs of the wealthy and powerful, he had never witnessed anything quite like the bond that had formed between Robert Mitchell and Lily Cooper in just 5 short days. The morning passed in a blur of medical personnel, paperwork, and hushed conversations. Jennifer arrived, red-eyed but composed, to begin the process of executing Robert's final wishes. As his body was prepared for transport to the funeral home, Martha brought Lily back to her own hospital room to rest. "Is my name still Mitchell?" Lily asked suddenly, as Martha helped her into her bed. "Even though Dad is gone?" "Yes, sweetheart," Martha assured her. "You're Lily Mitchell now and forever. Your dad made sure of that." Lily nodded, satisfied. "Good, because I want everyone to know he was my dad." Martha smoothed Lily's wild curls, marveling at the child's resilience. "He loved you very much, Lily, more than anything in the world." "I know," Lily said simply. "And I loved him too." She paused, then added, "Grandma, will you be sad when you go to heaven too?" The question caught Martha off guard. "Why would I be sad, honey?" "Because you'll see Mom, but I won't be there yet," Lily explained. "You might miss me." Martha's heart constricted. "I will miss you terribly, but I'll know you're here, living your life, growing up to be a wonderful person. That will make me happy. Like how Dad is watching me from heaven now." "Exactly like that." Lily considered this, then nodded. "Okay. But don't go to heaven too soon, Grandma. I need you here first." "I'll do my very best," Martha promised, though she knew her own health was precarious at best. A knock at the door interrupted them. Thomas entered, his professional demeanor back in place despite the emotional mourning. "I'm sorry to disturb you," he said, "but there's been a development with James Cooper." Martha tensed. "What now?" "He's gone," Thomas said. "Apparently he received a call early this morning from someone claiming to be from the Singaporean authorities. He was seen boarding a flight to Mexico shortly after." "Will he come back?" Martha asked, glancing at Lily, who was watching them curiously. "I don't believe so," Thomas replied. "The legal situation here isn't in his favor, and he has more pressing concerns now." "Who's James?" Lily asked, picking up on the tension in the adults' voices. Martha hesitated, unsure how to explain the complicated situation to a 4-year-old. "He's someone who was confused about what's best for you," Thomas answered smoothly. "But he's gone now, and you don't need to worry about him." Lily accepted this explanation with the easy trust of childhood. "Okay, can I have my drawing pad? I want to make another card for Dad to take with him to heaven." As Martha helped Lily set up her art supplies, Thomas motioned for her to join him in the hallway. "There's one more thing," he said in a low voice. Before the end, Robert recorded a video message for Lily. He asked that she watch it today. And then again on significant milestones in her life. Martha nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "Of course." "And this is for you," Thomas added, handing her an envelope. "Robert dictated it to me last night. His final instructions regarding Lily's care." Martha took the envelope with trembling hands. "Thank you, Thomas, for everything you've done." "It was an honor," Thomas said sincerely. "Robert Mitchell was a difficult man in business, but in these last days—" He trailed off, emotion threatening to overcome his professional composure. "He became the man he was always meant to be," Martha finished for him. Back in Lily's room, The child was deeply absorbed in creating her farewell card for Robert. Her small face was scrunched in concentration as she carefully drew an angel with her father's face. "He needs to look like Dad when he gets to heaven," she explained when she caught Martha watching her. "So my mum will recognize him." Martha smiled through her tears. "That's a wonderful idea, sweetheart." As the day wore on, hospital staff, who had come to know Lily during her many stays, stopped by to offer condolences and support. Nurses who had witnessed the extraordinary 5-day journey from strangers to father and daughter brought small gifts: a teddy bear wearing a suit like Robert's, a children's book about stars watching over us. Jennifer arrived in the afternoon with the box of jewelry Robert had mentioned. "He wanted you to have these," she told Lily, opening the velvet case to reveal a collection of elegant pieces, including a stunning sapphire necklace. "They're pretty," Lily said, touching the sapphire pendant gently, "but I'm too little for jewelry." "They're for when you grow up," Jennifer explained. "Your dad wanted you to have something of his family's history. Something to remember him by," Lily nodded understandingly. "Although," Jennifer added with a smile, "I don't think you'll need anything to remember him by. He made quite an impression." "I won't forget him," Lily agreed solemnly. "Not ever." That evening, after Lily had eaten dinner and been settled into bed, Thomas returned with a laptop. "Are you ready to see your dad's message?" he asked gently. Lily nodded, suddenly solemn. Martha sat beside her on the bed, her arm protectively around her granddaughter's small shoulders. The screen flickered to life, and there was Robert, propped up in his hospital bed, looking directly into the camera with an intensity that belied his failing body. "Hello, Lily," he began, his voice stronger than it had been in his final hours. "If you're watching this, it means I've gone to heaven a little sooner than we would have liked." Lily reached out to touch the screen, her fingertips brushing against Robert's image. "But I want you to know something very important," Robert continued. "The 5 days I spent as your father were the most meaningful days of my entire life. You asked me where you could buy a dad, and instead you gave me the gift of being one." Martha felt Lily lean against her, absorbing every word. "I've made arrangements to make sure you'll always be taken care of," Robert said. "Your grandmother will be with you for as long as she can be, and after that, you'll have Jennifer, who I trust completely. You'll never be alone, Lily, I promise you that." Robert's expression softened even further. "As you grow up, you might hear people talk about me. They might say I was a tough businessman, or that I was only interested in making money. And for most of my life that was true. But you changed everything, Lily. You taught me what really matters." He paused, collecting himself. "I've asked Thomas to show you this video again on your important days. Your first day of school, your graduations, your wedding someday. I won't be there in person, but I'll be watching from heaven, so proud of the amazing person I know you'll become." Robert leaned closer to the camera. "Remember what I told you about treasures? How some people search their whole lives, looking in all the wrong places. You were my treasure, Lily Mitchell, the one I found just in time. And no matter where you go or what you do in life, you will always, always be my daughter." Tears streamed down Martha's face as she held Lily close, but to her amazement, Lily was smiling. "He's okay now," the child said confidently. "He's not sick anymore, and he can see us from heaven just like he said." As the video ended with Robert's final, "I love you, my treasure," Martha marveled at the wisdom and resilience of the small girl beside her. Somehow, in just 5 days, Robert Mitchell, the ruthless tycoon, the solitary billionaire, had given this child not just financial security, but the unshakable knowledge that she was deeply, completely loved. And Lily, with her $16.37, had given him something far more valuable in return: the chance to discover what truly mattered before it was too late. 1 year later, The beach house on Cape Cod gleamed white against the clear blue sky as Jennifer parked the car in the circular driveway. In the back seat, Lily bounced with excitement, her blonde curls dancing around her face. "Are we really staying for the whole summer?" she asked for perhaps the 10th time that morning. "The whole summer?" Jennifer confirmed, smiling at her in the rearview mirror, "Just like your dad wanted." In the year since Robert Mitchell's death, many things had changed. Martha Cooper had suffered a serious heart attack 3 months after his passing and now resided in a top-tier care facility near the beach house, where Lily visited her daily. As Robert had arranged, Jennifer had stepped in as Lily's guardian, taking a leave of absence from Mitchell Technologies to focus on raising the child who had so transformed her former boss's life. The Mitchell mansion in Boston had been sold, the proceeds added to Lily's trust. Instead, Jennifer had purchased this more modest but still luxurious beach house, fulfilling Robert's promise that Lily would feel the sand between her toes and the waves around her legs. "Can we go to the beach right now?" Lily asked as Jennifer helped her from the car into her wheelchair. "As soon as we unpack," Jennifer promised. "I have a surprise waiting for you down there." Lily's eyes widened. "What kind of surprise?" "If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise," Jennifer teased, wheeling her up the accessible ramp Robert's estate had installed the previous winter. Inside, the house was bathed in sunlight, with wide hallways and open spaces designed specifically for Lily's wheelchair. Photos lined the walls, mostly of Lily, but prominently displayed in the living room was a large portrait of Robert holding Lily in the hospital garden, both of them smiling at the camera. "Dad's watching us," Lily said happily, pointing to the photo as they passed. "He certainly is," Jennifer agreed, still sometimes amazed at how naturally Lily referred to Robert as her father, despite their brief time together. After a quick lunch and unpacking session, they headed down the private boardwalk that led to the beach. Lily gasped when she saw what waited at the end, a specialized beach wheelchair with large, sand-friendly wheels. "Now we can go right up to the water," Jennifer explained, helping Lily transfer into the new chair. "Dad arranged this too, didn't he?" Lily asked perceptively. Jennifer nodded. "He thought of everything." They spent the afternoon by the ocean, Lily squealing with delight as the waves washed around her chair, her thin legs dangling in the cool Atlantic water. Jennifer watched her carefully, sunscreen reapplied every hour, always vigilant as Robert would have wanted. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, they were joined by Thomas, who had driven up from Boston for the weekend. "How's our girl?" he asked, settling into a beach chair beside Jennifer. "Thriving," Jennifer replied, watching as Lily examined a seashell with intense concentration. "Her doctors say the new physical therapy regimen is showing promising results. She might walk with braces someday." "Robert would be pleased," Thomas said. "The Mitchell Foundation's pediatric research grants are making waves in the medical community. Spina bifida treatments have advanced more in the past year than in the previous decade." Jennifer smiled. "He's still taking care of her, even now." "In more ways than one," Thomas agreed, pulling a letter from his briefcase. "This came yesterday. I wanted to deliver it in person." Jennifer took the envelope, recognizing the official seal of the Pulitzer Prize Board. "They're making the book into a movie?" Thomas nodded. "The biography of Robert and Lily is being adapted by a major studio. The proceeds will go to the Mitchell Foundation for Pediatric Research, as stipulated. The book, $16.37, The Robert and Lily Mitchell Story, had become a sensation, touching hearts around the world with its account of how a dying billionaire and a disabled 4-year-old had found each other in the most unlikely circumstances. "Will I be in the movie?" Lily asked. Lily, having wheeled herself back to them with her collection of shells. "You certainly will," Thomas told her. "A very important part." Lily considered this, her brow furrowed in thought. Will Dad be in it too? Of course, Jennifer assured her. It's your story together. Lily nodded, satisfied. Good, because I don't want people to forget him. I don't think anyone who hears your story could possibly forget him, Thomas said gently. Later that evening, after Lily had been bathed and tucked into bed in her new beach-themed bedroom, Jennifer found her looking at the framed photo of Robert that sat on her nightstand. I talk to him sometimes, Lily confided. At night, before I go to sleep, I tell him about my day and the important things that happened. I think he'd like that very much, Jennifer said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Jennifer? Lily asked, her voice suddenly serious. Do you think my dad found my mom in heaven? Jennifer's throat tightened with emotion. I'm absolutely certain he did. Good, Lily said, her eyes growing heavy with sleep, because I told him to look for her. I said she had yellow hair like mine and the prettiest smile. That was very helpful of you, Jennifer said, tucking the covers around her. I know they're watching me together, Lily murmured, her eyes drifting closed. Dad promised he would always watch over me, even from heaven. And your dad always kept his promises, didn't he? Jennifer whispered. Always, Lily agreed, her voice fading as sleep began to claim her. He was the best dad ever, worth way more than $16.37. As Lily fell asleep, Jennifer stood by the window, looking out at the star-filled sky above the ocean. Somewhere out there, she liked to think, Robert Mitchell was indeed watching over the child who had transformed his life and legacy. The man who had spent decades accumulating wealth and power had discovered in his final days the one thing his money couldn't buy, the love of a child who saw not a dying billionaire but simply a dad. And Lily, the little girl who had saved her quarters to buy a father, had found something even more precious, the knowledge that she was a treasure beyond price, cherished and protected even after her father had gone to heaven. In the end, perhaps that was Robert Mitchell's greatest legacy, not the billions in his accounts or the company that bore his name, but the love that had bloomed in the most unlikely of circumstances, between a man with 1 week to live and a child with $16.37 to spend. A love that, unlike all the treasures Robert had accumulated in his 58 years, would truly last forever.